There is a product that sells, brand new, for about $23,000, and right now people are listing it on eBay for $1. Not $1 as a trick to start a bidding war, $1 as the full and final price. In many of these listings, the seller goes further and offers to pay the transfer costs, the closing paperwork, sometimes even the next year of fees. Anything to make the thing finally leave. Look at that again. An owner is offering strangers money out of his own pocket to take a $23,000 product away from him. And even at that price, with cash on top, many of these listings end with zero bids. The product is called a timeshare, and more than 9 million American households own one, according to the industry's own trade group. Today, we're going to pull this product apart and follow the money to the people who actually keep it. Quick note before we start. This is education, not financial advice. First, the pitch, because the pitch deserves respect. It has been refined for decades, and it works on smart, careful people every single day. You're on vacation, relaxed, maybe a little sunburned, and someone invites you to a short presentation in exchange for free breakfast or show tickets. Then a friendly person asks a very reasonable question. How much do you spend on vacations every year? Whatever number you say, they multiply it across the next 30 years and show you a terrifying total that disappears into hotel rooms you will never own. A timeshare, they explain, converts that lost money into something you keep. You lock in tomorrow's vacations at today's prices. You get a real apartment with a kitchen instead of a hotel box, and someday you can hand it down to your kids. And here's the uncomfortable part. Some of that is true. The industry's own study, run by Ernst & Young for the trade group ARDA, shows American timeshare resorts ran at 80% occupancy in 2024, while regular hotels average 63%. People who own these things genuinely use them. Families really do get the two-bedroom unit with the kitchen, and the industry sold $10.5 billion of this product in 2024, so somebody clearly likes it. If the story ended there, this would be a very short video. The story does not end there, because we haven't talked about what happens after you sign, and after you sign is where the vacation turns into a machine. The average deal in 2024 cost $23,160, and that's not a critic's number, that's ARDA's own study. For that money, in the classic version, you get 1 week per year at the resort. Then comes the maintenance fee, and the maintenance fee is the real product. In 2023, the average annual fee was about $1,260. 1 year later, it was $1,480. That's a jump of roughly 17.5% in a single year, on a bill you're contractually required to pay whether you travel or not. Miss it, and the resort can send you to collections or even foreclosure, exactly like a mortgage, except the house is 1 week wide. Many contracts also carry something called a perpetuity clause, which means the obligation is designed to outlive you and land on your children, like an inheritance nobody asked for. So run the simple 20-year math on an average deal. $23,000 up front, plus 20 years of fees at the current level, comes to more than $52,000, and that's pretending the fee never rises again, which it will. $52,000 for 20 weeks of vacation, before flights, before food, and before interest, because many buyers finance the purchase through the developer's own lending arm. Now, for the interesting question, where does your $23,000 actually go? Mostly not into the building. Hilton Grand Vacations is one of the biggest timeshare companies in the world, and its own earnings report for the last quarter of 2024 does the confessing for us. In that quarter, customers signed $837 million in new timeshare contracts. In the same quarter, the company recorded $387 million of real estate sales and marketing expense. That is 46%. Almost half of every dollar buyers committed went into the machinery of selling, the commissions, the free breakfasts, the show tickets, the tour desks. So, when you pay retail for a timeshare, you're buying half a resort product and half a sales pitch, and a sales pitch is not something you can sleep in. That, in one line, is the mystery of the $1 eBay listing solved. The resale market removes the marketing and prices the product on what remains, and what remains is a lifetime obligation to pay rising fees for 1 week a year. The Timeshare Users Group, the largest forum run by owners themselves, puts typical resale value at 10% of the original price or less, and plenty of units settle at effectively zero. A new car loses value fast, but this product loses 90% or more the moment you sign, which is strange behavior for something marketed as an ownership opportunity. Now, hold on, because the second half of this story is worse than the first half, and it's the part the FTC keeps filing lawsuits about. Here's the question to keep in your head for the next few minutes. If a product loses 90% of its value the moment you sign, what happens to all the people who try to get out? The answer involves an 83-year-old grandmother and $140 million. First, understand how many people want out. Amy Gregory, a professor at the University of Central Florida who has spent years studying this exact industry, presented research showing that 85% of timeshare buyers regret the purchase. The reasons her research recorded were money, fear, confusion, intimidation, and distrust, which is not the usual customer feedback for a vacation product. Her work also found that about 15% of buyers cancel within the legal cooling-off window. The resorts simply replace them every morning with fresh guests at the free breakfast. For everyone who misses that window, the regret has nowhere legal to go, and an entire second industry grew up to harvest it. Consumer Reports told the story of Corinne Adams, a grandmother from Washington State, 83 years old. She and her late husband had bought a timeshare in Hawaii almost 30 years earlier. The annual fee had become an expense she no longer needed, and she worried about her children inheriting the obligation. Then a company called Pro Timeshare Resales called and said buyers were already lined up. All she had to do was pay an upfront fee of about $1,500. 2 years and nearly $10,000 later, there was no buyer because there had never been one. When the FTC investigated the company, it found more than $18 million collected from timeshare owners without one single completed sale. As a business model, you have to admire the purity of it. 100% of the money, 0% of the service. And Pro Timeshare was one of the smaller operations. In 2022, the FTC and the state of Wisconsin went after an exit operation called Consumer Law Protection, accusing it of taking more than $90 million, mostly from older adults. In April 2026, a federal court ordered the operator of yet another exit scheme to pay $140 million, including $95 million in refunds to the people it fooled. Consumer Reports also described a New York business owner whose Las Vegas timeshare fee had climbed past $2,000 a year. The first exit company he hired went bankrupt, and the second one charged him $11,200 and still had not freed him. Stop and look at the shape of this. The product traps people so reliably that fraud built on the promise of escape became a 9-figure industry of its own. Nobody runs a $100 million scam promising to free people from their gym contracts, because a gym contract you can simply cancel. Now for the honest other side, because this product has one, and skipping it would make me just another salesman with a different script. Point 1. Timeshare owners actually go on vacation. That 80% occupancy number is real, and there is a version of family life, same resort, same week every summer, kids growing up around the same pool, where the locked-in commitment is exactly the feature you want, because without it, the vacation keeps getting postponed. The industry's own surveys show 85% of owners calling their experience good or excellent. Both that number and the regret number can be true at once, depending on when you ask and who paid for the question. Point 2. If you truly hold on, the math can eventually turn. Consumer Reports estimated back in 2016 that owners who keep a timeshare for roughly 13 years can start coming out ahead of what similar resort vacations would have cost. That's a long time to stay in love with one pool, but for some families, it genuinely happens. Point 3. The resale disaster cuts in both directions. The same market that destroys sellers hands a careful buyer the identical product for 90% off. Buying resale, with the fee obligation fully understood and accepted, is the one version of this purchase that is not automatically terrible. Notice what all 3 points have in common though. None of them involve buying at full price in a resort conference room. So here is what you actually do in 4 steps. Step 1. For the presentation room, never buy at the presentation. Full stop. Any price that expires the moment you stand up is not a price, it's pressure wearing a number. The identical ownership sits on the resale market at 1/10 of the cost, and if the deal is truly good, it will still be good after a week of thinking at home. Step 2. If you signed recently, you probably still have a legal exit window called the rescission period. Depending on the state, it runs from about 3 days to 10 days in Florida, 5 in Nevada. The clock is already running, so act today, not this weekend. Cancel in writing, follow the exact instructions printed in your contract, and send the letter by certified mail so nobody can pretend it never arrived. This window is the only moment in the entire life of a timeshare when leaving is free. Step 3. If you own one and want out, start with the company you bought from, not with a stranger on the phone. Ask the developer about its deedback or surrender program, because several of the big brands now run one, and the industry's own exit website lists them. If that fails, list the unit yourself on the owner forums or on eBay, and accept that the honest price is close to zero, because a painful zero is still cheaper than another decade of rising fees. Step 4. One hard rule that would have saved every victim in this video. Never pay a large upfront fee to anyone who promises to get you out. Money first, results later is exactly the pattern the FTC calls the biggest warning sign, and it's the pattern behind the 90 million and the 140 million from a minute ago. If you keep one sentence from this video, keep this one. A real asset is something other people will pay to take from you, and a timeshare is something you pay other people to take from you. No ocean view changes which one of those you're signing. If this video keeps even one person from signing on vacation, it did its job. So send it to the friend who keeps getting invited to free breakfasts. Subscribe if you want one comfortable money story taken apart every week. And tell me below, have you ever sat through a timeshare presentation, and what did they offer you to show up? I check every single comment.